What if I told you that one of the deadliest wars in European history, a conflict that killed millions and reshaped the continent, was secretly bankrolled by a single person? And what if that person wasn't a king, a general, or a European banker, but an Ottoman princess operating from the shadows of the imperial court in Istanbul? This isn't a plot from a historical novel. This is the real, untold story of how the 30 Years' War was fueled by a hidden financial power. Let's set the stage. The year is 1618. Europe is about to tear itself apart. The 30 Years' War begins, splitting the continent into two massive warring camps, the Catholic League and the Protestant Union. It was a brutal, all-consuming conflict. Armies marched across Germany, leaving devastation in their wake. Entire regions were depopulated, economies collapsed, and the very map of Europe was redrawn in blood. Wars like this are incredibly expensive. You need money for soldiers, for weapons, for supplies, for everything. Both the Catholic and Protestant sides were constantly scrambling for funds, borrowing heavily from anyone who would lend. They turned to the great banking houses of Italy and Germany, but even their resources were stretched to the limit. Yet somehow, the money kept flowing. The war, which should have ended in a few years from financial exhaustion, dragged on for 3 decades. Where was all this cash coming from? The answer lies far to the east, in a place most European leaders never thought to look: the heart of the Ottoman Empire. At this time, the Ottoman Empire was more than just a military giant. It was a global economic hub. Its treasury was vast, and its financial networks stretched from the Indian Ocean to the heart of Europe. And within the opulent walls of the Topkapi Palace lived a woman of immense power and wealth. We don't know her name for certain. The historical records are deliberately vague, a testament to her secrecy. But we know she was a princess of the imperial family, likely a daughter or sister of the Sultan. She possessed a personal fortune that rivaled that of many European monarchs. But unlike her male relatives who led armies or governed provinces, her power was of a different kind. It was quiet, invisible, and exercised through a complex web of intermediaries. She controlled a network of merchants, bankers, and spies who operated throughout Europe. These agents were her eyes, her ears, and most importantly, her hands, moving vast sums of gold across borders without anyone tracing it back to its source. She was a master of financial intrigue, a ghost in the world's economic machine. When the 30 Years' War erupted, she saw an opportunity. While European kingdoms were choosing sides based on religion and politics, she chose no side, or rather, she chose both. Through her clandestine network, she began to extend massive, anonymous loans to the warring factions. A Protestant prince in Germany, desperately needing to pay his mercenaries, would suddenly find a line of credit from a seemingly neutral banking house in Venice. A Catholic general in need of gunpowder would receive a shipment paid for by a mysterious benefactor in Genoa. The money moved through a dizzying maze of transactions designed to be untraceable. Gold from Istanbul would be funneled through Armenian merchants to Venetian bankers, who would then lend it to German financiers, who would finally pass it on to the Protestant or Catholic war effort. On paper, it looked like standard European finance, but if you followed the trail all the way back, it led to one place: the private treasury of an Ottoman princess. Historians have spent years piecing this together, sifting through obscure financial records and diplomatic correspondence. They found evidence of enormous transfers of wealth originating from the Ottoman sphere of influence that mysteriously coincided with key moments in the war. Loans that kept armies in the field when they should have disbanded, funds that paid for new recruitment drives just when a side was on the verge of collapse. And at the center of this web, whispers and fragments of records point to a powerful female figure in the Sultan's court, a hidden queen of finance. But why? Why would an Ottoman princess fund a Christian war? And why would she support both sides? The motive was breathtaking in its strategic genius. It was about power, but not the kind won on a battlefield. As long as the kingdoms of Europe were locked in a devastating struggle, they were no threat to the Ottoman Empire. While they were busy destroying each other, their economies crumbling and their populations shrinking, the Ottoman Empire remained stable, prosperous, and secure on its western flank. Every year the war continued was another year of European weakness and another year of Ottoman strength. She didn't care if the Catholics or the Protestants won. The victory she sought was the conflict itself. By keeping both sides just solvent enough to continue fighting, she ensured Europe would bleed itself dry. She was effectively neutralizing her empire's biggest rivals without firing a single shot. It was a masterclass in asymmetrical warfare, fought not with cannons and swords, but with ledgers and gold coins. This woman was one of history's earliest pioneers of what we now call financial warfare. She understood that in the modern world, controlling the flow of money was just as powerful, if not more so, than controlling an army. She played the long game, manipulating the fate of an entire continent from thousands of miles away, all while remaining completely invisible. Her name isn't taught in most history classes. There are no statues of her in European capitals. She never signed a treaty, never met a king, and was never acknowledged by the very people whose wars she financed. Her success depended on her anonymity. The most effective players in the grand game of history are often the ones you never see, the ones who pull the strings from behind the curtain. Her story is a powerful reminder that history is full of hidden figures and secret forces, and that the true source of power isn't always where we expect to find it. So next time you read about the great wars of history, remember to ask, who paid for it? The answer might just lead you down a rabbit hole to a story even more incredible than the one you thought you knew. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoy uncovering the hidden side of history, make sure to subscribe for more.